And welcome to the ACC Kickoff 2014, coming to you live from the Grandover Hotel in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm the Coach Dick Cox, joined by Barry Toney. Well, Coach Toney, this kind of wraps up a busy week. We started out in Birmingham a week later. We are in Greensboro. We've gotten the conferences that produce the two teams that play for the national championship.
Hey, you're absolutely right. And who's to say, Coach, it won't happen again?
Very well.
Playoffs, you never can tell now.
Very well could. And again, we've had a good day here. Kind of a change of pace. That this is entirely different atmosphere than we were in last week, where there was over 1,400 media. Don't know what the official count here was, but a lot less people here. And this is more of an intimate type deal that you have with the coaches, to where the coaches and players actually come to your table and we get to do one-on-one interviews with them, and I really like this format.
Right, you're absolutely right, Coach. And it seemed like I heard somebody say this was one of their bigger media days in which they've had. So, you know, we may be up to, what, 400 plus or so.
Probably at least, I would think there, though.
With the addition of, Louisville Cardinals coming in, and there's just a lot of excitement buzzing around Greensboro now.
Yesterday, we had the opportunity of talking with the players, and again, some interesting questions. I know you'll want to go back and see some of our videos. We asked them, what was on their bucket list, and we had two players, Vic Beasley and the quarterback from North Carolina, Williams, that both said they wanted to skydive. We actually had one of the receivers from Virginia Tech that wanted to go to the World Cup. So we got a variety of answers, and again, we didn't throw your standard, football questions out there for X and O, and we tried to make it a time for the players and coaches to have fun.
Hey, that's right there, Coach. With these coaching players, they're going to have enough pressure on once fall camp begins, and this type of atmosphere seemed like they were laid back, and every one of them, Coach, I think players and coaches did an outstanding job in regards to their interviews, and they felt at ease by answering the question which you answered, and like you said, you asked them a lot of questions which relating to other than football, which I'm sure they certainly enjoyed.
After the player interview session, we were able to go and participate in a social that they had, a little get-together for the coaches, media, and everybody, and then that led up to a big banquet where we had some excellent food last night.
Hey, you're absolutely right, Coach. We had those type of food where I can't pronounce, but I can certainly partake of the victuals. A first-class program, and Coach, that's what we ate. We really weren't in there very long. It's pretty much straight and to the point. But accolades were given to various individuals, but the food, the hospitality here at the Grandover is outstanding.
This morning we parted ways. We got up before the crack of dawn. Actually, I think around 5:45 this morning we actually got up. But a little change in format. You went ahead and we wanted you to participate in the Skeeter Davis golf tournament, while I had the opportunity of interviewing all the 14 coaches in the ACC, one-on-one interview for 15 minutes with nobody doing this little thing right here to wrap it up, that I got a chance to ask them all the questions I wanted to and have fun. But let's go first to your report on the golf tournament.
I tell you what, Coach, it was outstanding. We by a long shot, we did not finish first, but then on the other hand, we didn't finish last. And like you were in a situation where you're doing a lot of interviewing, Coach, I was doing a lot of interviewing too in the golf carts with a gentleman which I was with. One was a photographer with the Louisville Cardinals. Another one was worked radio for Louisville, and another gentleman, he was like a sports information director at the University of Virginia. So I was getting a good feel about what's the outlook for both the Louisville Cardinals and Virginia Cavaliers for the upcoming season.
Well, I had a great opportunity, great time this morning, getting to just spend some one-on-one time, like I said, with the coaches. And it was good that we got away from the rat race of Xing and Oing and talking balanced offense, prevent defense, kicking game, and things like that. But this is the kind of questions we did in the interview that we started out was, how did you get to be a coach? From there, we proceeded on to, if you were not a coach, what would you be doing? Because you and I both like to play the game out in Birmingham. We think he looks like he ought to be a used car salesman, or we think he ought to be a doctor or a lawyer. Well, I got a chance to find out what a lot of them were. And it's kind of interesting. You want to see the videos that Larry Fedora wants to be a builder. Al Golden from Miami said he would be a politician. David Cutcliffe, one of our favorite coaches, said he would be an elementary principal. But I liked what a lot of the guys had to say. If they were not in football, some of them said I'd be totally lost. I don't know what I'd do if I were not, because coaching's all I've ever known what to do, though. 4 of the coaches were sons of coaches, so they had that kind of in their bloodline that they came up, though. But we had a chance to talk with them on that. Had the opportunity of asking them what they all thought of the playoff system. They were all in favor of it, but I had one coach that said he thought there ought to be a 16 team and not 4 team. 1 8, and then the rest of them pretty much were happy with the 4 that they had with that. My next question was, we went on to the stipends. Every one of them were in favor of the stipends, but I liked what Coach Schaefer from Syracuse said. We were discussing ideas. He thinks it would be great for them to spend the money to actually fly the parents of the players in to see them graduate, and said that would give a little extra incentive for the player to graduate because you're going to fly their parents in. So we had some great ideas on that. I also, and you'll have enjoy watching the interviews, I told them I'm a 6'5", 225-pound quarterback that lives in the town of your university. Why should I come to your school? And they had to give me their best recruiting pitch right there. I signed on most of the dotted lines after recruiting pitch. Mr. Bill verbally committed.
Hey, I tell you what, Mr. Bill, and Mr. Bill never makes mistakes either. You know, he's the backbone of the entire operation.
We all agree that Mr. Bill needs to put on a little bit more weight, eat a few more Chick-fil-A sandwiches. We couldn't decide what position he was, maybe a fullback, but we went from there. We talked a little bit after that, a little bit of football. We talked about the strengths of their programs, what they thought the strengths of their programs were, and also any concerns they have going into the season too. We also talked about why they liked coaching at the school they coached at. Why they like coaching in the ACC, and they had great answers from that too. I also asked several of the coaches if you could change anything. I said, I just put you in charge of all of college football. What changes would you make? One of them said, I just gave myself a lifetime contract, which I said, well, you give me a job too. So that was one of the things, but there was a lot of things that they would change, anywhere from safety things. Some of them would change the recruiting process, earlier signing date, but it was really interesting of what they would do if they were put in charge of college football, any changes they would make.
Well, I tell you what, I know you certainly had a busy time, Coach. Like you said there, you started about 9 o'clock and you went to about 12:30, 1:45, one interview after the next. And Coach, get right down to it. You know, my interview started about 7:30 this morning, went to about 12:35, I believe it was, on a very beautiful golf course. And conditions here in Greensboro, even though the sun didn't come out, a little overcast, hey, it was ideal playing conditions. So I can't blame the weather for some of my bad play.
Last question I asked them before they departed, we had to get a fun question in with them, is I told them, I said, you know, I'm getting to be old, and I said, I'm starting to work on my bucket list. What would you want to do on your bucket list? Well, Jimbo Fisher said I hadn't even had time to think about a bucket list. He said, but if I did, it would probably be something outdoors I would want to do. But that's somebody coming off a national championship right there I can understand, and asking, and two, how the national championship had changed him and all, being national champions and all. It's kind of interesting when I ask him about concerns for the season, all the worries. When you're a defending champion, you worry about everything and you're concerned about everything.
Hey, you're absolutely right. And, you know, he comes from Coach Nick Saban. You know, they're always focusing on the next game, and even after you know, Bama won some of their national championships, he'll give them like a 24-hour rule where they could you know, think about what has transpired, etc. But within a couple of days, just start getting ready for the next ball game the next year.
Coach Toney, you'll find this interesting. Some of the things on Dabo's bucket list were, he said he'd never been to the Final Four before. He wanted to go to the Final Four and said he'd never been out of this country, that he wanted to go visit another country. So those were a couple of things that Dabo Swinney from Clemson had. You'll want to see the whole interview, that we had fun with him. He liked Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill did verbally commit to Clemson also.
So we're going to have to put some stripes on Mr. Bill.
Mr. Bill is going to have it be a well-educated person because he signed today with verbally committed to 14 schools today. So that he did have kind of a big day, though.
There's no doubt in my mind that Mr. Bill couldn't get the job done. I know he could get the job done.
Bonus coverage today was that we had a chance of one of my favorite coaches that got out of coaching after last year was Jim Grove at Wake Forest. And again, I think he did a great job while he was there, though, but was very honest. And he said he'd felt like he'd got to the point where he just was not making any progress anymore at Wake Forest. And that's why he stepped aside. And he's going to be working with Fox Sports right now on a weekly show. He's going to do a little commentary, and I gave him some pointers and advice for broadcasting. I said, don't ever say there's a flag on the field, because I told him about my experience when I got excited broadcasting a high school playoff game and it came out there's a flag on the field. So now I say you use there is laundry on the field. So he liked that pointer and got tickled with that. So he's going to be using there is laundry on the field.
Hey, that's right. Now, Jim Grove is a class act, and Jim Grove, he felt like he was doing not only the best interest for himself at the time, but he was looking at the best interest of Wake Forest, and we wish them well in the upcoming season.
Again, it was a very educational morning for me because I learned so many things about the coaches in the ACC, and that's what I hope our viewers will do, that you will take the time to watch. That I did not know that Mike London, the coach at Virginia, had been a bone marrow donor to his daughter, and that calls that the odds of him being a match for her was really rare to find one. But the things he had been through in his life, I know he had a tough season last year coaching at Virginia, and he's on the hot seat, but he's a man strong in faith, and talked about how faith had gotten him through a lot of these things, though. But it was just great talking with the coaches, and even Jimbo Fisher, when we finished, I'm sure he's been interviewed by thousands of people, looked over and he said that was a great interview, that he had a lot of fun. So I think the coaches had fun. You had fun playing golf.
Coach, it's been a delightful couple of days up here.
I had fun playing with the head coaches, getting to know them, and just giving them a menu of questions that maybe they hadn't had before.
Hey, I tell you what, Coach, seemed like we just came up here, and all of a sudden it's time to head on back home to Sparkle City. Time flies by. They always said time flies by when you're having fun. And, Coach, we have certainly had a fantastic week.
Yes, we have. We have had fun aplenty from one of our sponsors, the Beacon Drive-In. Again, we thank all of our sponsors that make these trips possible. The Beacon Drive-In, by the West Side Club, by Concoction Ministries, by Larry's Trophies, by the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, all of our sponsors that help make our broadcasts, our trips, and the things we do at Cox Sports Broadcasting possible.
I tell you, Coach, it's like, you talk about bucket lists. Hey, this has certainly been one of my bucket lists, be able to go to the SEC Media Days, also ACC, and hopefully somewhere down the road might make it to a Final Four basketball game championship, or better yet, might make it to a bowl championship series, like what's taking place in the upcoming year. Maybe see one of those championship games. It'd
be nice to go. It would be really nice to go and see two coaches from each of these conferences that we've been go head-to-head for the national championship.
And, Coach, let's see, we had, SEC Media Days, 14 coaches? 14 up here. Hey, that's 28. Hey, and see two of those going head-to-head. They could be a very strong possibility. Because in the rankings coming up, hitting the Florida State Seminoles ranked up there pretty high.
Preseason number one.
And how about Coach Nick Saban's Alabama Crimson Tide?
Numero 2.
Hey, they're up there pretty high. Yes.
So, again, we had an opportunity. Coach Toney and I both voted for the teams as far as ranking. We both picked Florida State to win their division. Miami is who I picked in the other one. Did you pick Miami?
I picked Miami.
We both picked Miami for that division too, with Florida State being the overall champion. That's what the majority of the media went with. And Jameis Winston was also picked the preseason player of the year in the conference.
Right. I would agree with those right now. But, Coach, as well as I, a lot of times after it's all been said and done, usually there's more said than done. So, hey, we got a season ahead of us, and who's to say what's going to take place?
And they play the games on grass and AstroTurf, not on paper.
That's right. And Coach Miles, he likes playing on that grass because you'll see him eat some grass sometime during the season.
And some of the players enjoy smoking it too. So we won't go to what schools do that, though. They're from SEC Media Days. All right, we're coming to you live from the Grandover today. Beautiful hotel. I guess our next report will be coming from training camp as the Carolina Panthers will come to Spartanburg this weekend. Reporting for Cox Sports Broadcasting in the Coach's Corner, he is the Coach Barry Toney. I'm the Coach Dick Cox. Have a good week, everybody.
Good afternoon.